How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Junji Ito Maniac, Episode 9. This one's entitled Tomie Photo, or for whatever reason, it's listed as Tomie Photo on Netflix, but when you click on it, the subtitles underneath the title card translate it to Tomie's Photos. Whatever. This is, of course, based on manga by Junji Ito, and you can find this one in the nice Tomie complete collection that Viz put out. This will be Chapter 4. And I do want to say, it's cool to see Tomie, obviously Junji Ito's most famous character, but that being said, it is kind of strange. This is her only episode. That's pretty weird considering how prominent she is in the theme song. Like, the theme song, if it's not patterns, it's pretty much just Tomie. So it is kind of weird she's featured that prominently, promotionally, but then only one episode. I don't know. And why the theme song does show elements of the photographs from this episode, the little Tomie tower thing from, I believe it's the Mansion chapter. Yeah, that's in the theme song for a little bit, but that's not adapted anywhere in the show, so I don't know what it is. But anyway, it's cool to see her, and it's a good chapter, but that being said, I don't know how well it stands alone on its own. Tomie, like I said, this is from the middle of the book, and by this point, you kind of know her rules when you're reading through the story as intended. But when you just take this chapter out of context, there's a few things that is lost if this is your introduction to the character. One, and I think this is super important, is whenever Tomie is going to a new location, no one there knows who she is, but we as the reader do. So it's this high school girl that no one would suspect would be super evil and super dangerous, and in turn, you get this story where Tomie shows up, the audience goes, oh no, but no one else knows. But if you don't know how dangerous Tomie is, you don't really get that, so that's part of the reason why, not having this history with the character, it does lose something. Also, things like her powers. If you don't know about her powers and the sort of rules about her, the ending of this episode, which I won't spoil, does seem kind of weird. Especially when you get to the gruesome body horror moments, you might be like, whoa, wait, what happened? Why? What's going on? And you gotta know Tomie's rules. I mean, for example, a character at the end of this episode does something by accident, and it seems like a super weird thing to do by accident, but if you know Tomie and her story, you know that that's something people are kind of compelled to do around her. It's part of her, part of her power set, so that is kind of a little weird, but still, it is good to get a full episode. I believe the original chapter in the manga was like 60 pages, so yeah, you definitely should do a full episode here, and it really is good to let things breathe, and really, I said this before, but I wish more Junji Ito stories would get full episodes. Yeah, some of them, like The Thing That Drifted Ashore, really don't need them, but I like the full episodes because they, give the story a chance to fully grow, and it's just so much better. But anyway, I should mention that this is not the first Tomie anime adaptation. Junji Ito Maniac is kind of a sequel to Junji Ito Collection, and in Junji Ito Collection we had 3 chapters adapted. One was the Painter chapter, and the Painter chapter was because they were adapting Shiver. Shiver reprints the Painter chapter, and it works better after having seen this one. Tomie's wanting a painting in the painter chapter because of what she learns about photographs of herself in this one. So again, a case, much like the Oshikiri stuff, of doing these out of order for who knows what reason. Tomie was also adapted in the OVA for Junji Ito collection, which took her first and second chapter and made that into an episode, which is part of the reason why we're doing chapter 4 now. We did 1 and 2, but chapter 3 is a direct sequel to chapter 2, very much continuing the story. So rather than just adapting straight, we kind of have to skip over that chapter and go to the next one that can be seen as a standalone, which does kind of suck, because now I wonder, the chapters that are direct sequels to other chapters, are we ever gonna get those adapted? Really, I do think it would have been better if instead of sliding her into this anthology slot, Tomie really could have gotten her own show. That would have been so much better if we just had a show that was just Tomie and we got all her chapters in order, because as it stands now, I don't know if we're ever going to get a chance to adapt chapter 3, because it would seem weird to do an anthology episode that had a random sequel to the last anime's OVA, so I don't know what we're going to do there. But anyway, that big long ranting complaining aside, I still want to say that this is a fun episode. Seeing Tomie take over, do her manipulation, her vanity, as well as her secret monstrous nature that contrasts with her beauty and the body horror that brings with it. It's really fun. And 2 more things. One, this is in the more square 4:3 aspect ratio, and that's because we're clearly set in the past. This story is about photographs and the sort of rareness and commodity of them. Yeah, in the future, anyone can take a photograph whenever they want. So yeah, you kind of have to set the story in the past, and doing the 90s anime aspect ratio is sort of like when other movies do black and white to indicate the past. But I do like the softer color palette here. And one quick bit of trivia is some minor thing that kind of bugged me. In the original manga, in the last scene, your main girl is wearing a shirt for Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Apparently, Netflix didn't think they could get the rights or whatever, so she's just wearing a generic landscape shirt, which did kind of bug me. So sad that that's missing there. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to go through what happens here, analyze it a little bit, but I'll be avoiding the end bits. But we are going to analyze this a little deeper. We open up, our lead is the head of the photo club, and she's making money by taking photos of boys and selling them to girls who have a crush on them. Again, this is pre-internet, pre-cell phone. Photos are much harder to come by. If you want a photo of someone and you don't have it, you're going to have to go and take it. You can't just look one up, and you have to actually have a camera and go and get it developed. It's a much harder process, and because she is selling them for way too much money, basically extorting her friends' crushes, and she's hiding this from the school. Yeah, I don't know why, but it is something schools do in real life, where if you start to make a bit of money on something, the schools will just shut it down. Really though, you gotta make hay while the sun shines, and art rarely pays out, so when it does, you gotta get that in there. But, of course, can't let the school know, and to be fair, she is using school property, I guess, but come on, let the girl get some money, you know? But anyway, she's keeping this on the down low when Tomie shows up, and Tomie is on the disciplinary committee. Now, in the original manga, it was translated as the ethics committee, which I think has the joke a little more obvious there. Tomie is on the ethics committee, but she is evil, unethical, which is, I think, not just a funny joke, and also puts Tomie in the position of power that she needs to be for this episode, but it's also a really good lesson. Just because someone's on the ethics committee does not mean they'll be ethical. And some people who go on and on about ethics might be not really ethical in real life. So it's good to pay attention to people and not just let things slide at face value. So yeah, Tomie is on the disciplinary committee and secretly really shouldn't be. She also has 2 goons from the committee that follow her around because part of Tomie's powers is being able to mesmerize men. So she's got a couple of simps there, as we'd say nowadays. But she confiscates the main girl's photos. Says, this is unethical, I'm taking them away, but I won't turn you in, I'll just confiscate them. And this will lead to the beginning of the war between these 2 characters. And to make things worse, later on, the boy that our main character likes will ask for a favor from the main character, and it turns out he wants a picture of Tomie. That's just great. You're having to do a job for your crush so that he can get a photo of another girl, but not just another girl, the one you hate. And one thing that was censored from the manga, the main girl in the manga quite often calls Tomie the B word, but of course, this is 2023, can't have that nowadays. But anyway, Tomie catches the main girl taking photos of her and says, I don't mind, and starts to pose for several photos when they're eventually caught by a teacher, and you have to wonder, was this coincidence or did Tomie orchestrate it? You know, Tomie orchestrated it, but the main girl is actually given a chance for revenge. She develops Tomie's photos and finds that they didn't come out right. They have monstrous distortions, and if you've seen Tomie before, you know that that's her true nature. She really is monstrous and horrendous, and she decides to go up to the top of the school and toss them down on the courtyard while everyone's out there. This is kind of based on a joke Tomie said about spreading the photos around before she knew that they would be hideous. And Tomie is absolutely ticked, and this is one of those things. First, people don't usually get the edge on Tomie, at least socially. They often wind up murdering her, but that's beside the point. So she's furious that someone got the edge on her, but also, we as an audience, if you know who Tomie is, know how absolutely evil she can be, and know that this is the point in the story where Tomie is going to try to murder her, which, not something a normal high school girl would do. She's evil, but not high school evil, really evil. And then we get some fun moments from there, but I'm gonna cut it off and not talk about any more of the plot. I will say, though, at the end, we do get that good classic Tomie body horror that the character is known for. Always really great to see that. It's a really fun climax. But one little gripe with the end is the line does end on an awkward note. And the thing is, in the manga, there was additional lines, but they were told in the form of narration and not dialogue, so they just got cut. And they really should have switched these lines to narration, because without them, it just seems like an odd place to end, and then the episode's over. And I'm like, should have kept that bit there. But anyway, even though this does have problems, and like the animation when she's tossing the photos, a lot of the students kind of freeze up, and it's not perfect, but that being said, it's a fun Tomie story. I found myself enjoying it. I really liked, you know, seeing her with this backstabbing and betrayal, conniving nature, and seeing the true body horror, grotesque side of her. There's a reason why Tomie is a fun character. Cool to see her in here, and it's a full episode. That gives it time to breathe, and it's done in the 90s style. I thought it was pretty fun. Again, not perfect and has some faults, especially when you look at this not having the context of the previous Tomie chapters. Better if you had read the manga, but also better if you had seen her 3 episodes from collection. Well, 3 half episodes from collection, 2 of which being an OVA, but that's beside the point. But a good enough episode. I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Junji Ito playlist, where you can see my reviews for the past episodes of the show. I also did a US manga guide if you're curious about the manga where the show came from. I also did some unboxings, like this Junji Ito Pocket Curse and this Slug Girl Acryl there. So if you want to see me talk about a bunch more Junji Ito, you can find that in this playlist right here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Junji Ito playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.